This is the Rebbe's speech that he gave in 1991, Parshat Baalotcha. And like I said, I'm aware that in Israel we're learning Baalotcha, but by you, because Shavuot was 2 days and you didn't read on Shabbat what we did because it was a holiday by you, so therefore everything is sort of pushed off, and eventually we'll catch up together. But here we go. We're going to learn Baalotcha, what is relevant in Israel. This is this is a speech the Rebbe gave on Baalotcha. Okay. Now, what we talked about before. Let's see. One second. Excuse me. Yes. Baalotcha is talking about the menorah, of course, and the thing of the menorah is that it has to shine. And that's the outstanding feature of this week's Torah portion, lighting up the menorah. Unusual. But there's also something also very unusual here in this week's Torah portion. And that is, according to some opinions, this week's Torah portion can be divided up into 3. In the middle of this week's Torah portion, there are just a few sentences, right? There's 2 sentences that constitute one whole book of the Torah, according to one opinion. According to that one opinion, there are 7 books of the 5 books of Moses. It's not 5 books of Moses. According to that opinion, there are 7 books of Moses. One of the books, the first book of Moses, is Bereshit. Next is Shemot. Next is Vayikra. Just like always, right? Just like everybody. But the next one in this week's Torah portion, this week's Torah Baalotcha, around the middle of it, that ends the 4th book of the Torah. Then there's 2 sentences that are the 5th book of the Torah. Then from those 2 sentences until the end of the book of Numbers is the 6th book of the Torah. And the last book of the Torah is Deuteronomy. So in other words, there's an opinion that says that the 1st, 2nd, 3rd book of the Torah are the way they are. The 5th book of the Torah is the way it is. But the book of Bamidbar, this whole entire, right? One of the book of the 5 books of Moses. Well, this book of Bamidbar, of Numbers, is really 3 books. So here we go. Where it says in the Parshas Vayihi ben Soharon, it says Sefer Chashuv hu ba'atzmo. That's what it says in the Talmud. Some people say this is a book in itself. Right, 2 sentences on their own. According to this, it comes out that it says Chatzva Amudei Sheva. There's a sentence in the Song of Songs that it is carved out with 7 pillars. That's the Torah. The Torah is 7 books of the Torah. Okay, and since the Parsha do this Parsha by Yibin Soharon, right, that is a Parsha in itself. That is a book in itself. Okay, 1 second. Let me just have a look over here. Yeah, give me 1 second. One moment, please. I should have done my homework. Yes. Here we go. Here it is. Here. That's right. Those 2 sentences constitute one full book of the Torah. So it comes out that the book, Bamidbar, is divided into 3 books, like I explained to you. So it comes out that there are 7 books of the Torah. Don't call it the Pentateuch. You'll call it the what? Septateuch, or something like that. Septa, I think it's 7. Out of the first 4 books, Bereshit, Shemot, Vayikra, and Dvar, they're the same way. And the book of Bamidbar is divided into 3 books. Huh? According to this, the novelty in Parshat Baalotcha is that this Torah portion has inside of it three books. Three books are in the book of, this is the end of the first book of Numbers. The last part of it is the beginning of the last chapter of Numbers, last book of Numbers. And then there's two sentences in the middle that are a whole book in themselves. What are these two sentences? And it was when the ark traveled that they would say, raise up God and destroy your enemies, etc. Okay, let's see the exact translation. What are these two sentences? It says like this: when the ark traveled, Moses said, raise up God and scatter your enemies, and all of those who hate you will run before you. Sentence number one. Sentence number two: when the ark settled down, he would say, return God the tens of thousands of hundreds of thousands of Jews. Huh? That's a sentence, two sentences. Says the Rebbe, well, this is pretty strange. Of course, that's not the way we look at it. We say that there's 5 books of Moses, but there is an opinion in the Talmud, and if there is an opinion in the Talmud, it has veracity. There's something to it. Must be right on some level. It has to be correct. Right? If it's mentioned in the Talmud, there's even places in the Talmud when it's mentioned, for instance, Rabbi Yosef is that he lost his memory. There's other people that they lost their memory. That was Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Sheshes, anyway, that he lost his memory, and it was a meshubash tahu, that the law is not, he got the things wrong. Even those, if he made the mistake, it's written in the Talmud, there has to be some truth to it on some level. And there's something deep to teach us. That's the purpose of the Torah. It's part of the Torah to teach us. Okay, so what can we learn from this opinion that there's 7 books in the Torah, and the division point, right? What do they call it? They have in the world they have this international date line that divides between one. The date line over here that divides between, makes the book of Numbers into really 3 books, are the 2 sentences that are in the middle of this week's Torah portion. Okay, first of all, Dvar Tamud. This is very strange. Alpia Chalakot, that if there's 7 books of Moses, so it comes out that this book, the 6th book of the Torah, 6th book of the Torah, which that is the last part of Numbers, comes after these 2 sentences that I talked about. It begins, if you look and see, it begins with a bad thing. The Jewish people made trouble for Moses the whole time they were in the desert. But why do you have to begin a book with complaints? If you divide it up like this, like we said, like this opinion says in the Talmud, so it ends up that this 6th book of the Torah, which is the end of the book of Numbers, it starts off with a bad thing. That the Jewish people were complaining. This is a bad thing. That it came to really negative results. It says that God sent fire and he burned among the people. And afterwards it continues also about the sin of Miriam. And it talks about another sin. That Miriam said, why I bet that the Moses is getting prophecy, that Moses was her brother. His wife is really going to suffer, right? Because he get prophecy, so he's leaving his wife. And Miriam got punished because of that. And after that, it says in the next week's Torah portion, it talks about the sin of the spies. So in other words, if you divide the Torah up, like we said, into 7 books, and it means that you divide this week's Torah portion into 3 books, the end of the first part of Numbers, the beginning of the last part of Numbers, and then these 2 sentences in the middle, they're a sentence. So it ends up this last part of Numbers, because everything is bad. Everything that comes after these 2 sentences that we're calling a book is just bad stuff. The Jewish people complain, God sends fire. Then after there's the sin of that Miriam talks bad about Moses, And then after that, there was the sin of the spies. Next week's Torah portion, that's really bad. So if so, how can it be that you divide books up in such a way that one book contains only bad things? The novelty is in this, we see the call is for him, all the books have a name, that they're called from the beginning of that Torah portion, or something really. The Bereshit is talking about the first word. Shemot is talking about the second word in the portion. Vayikra, this is also the first word. Bamidbar, in the desert, right? That's the first sentence in this week's Torah portion. Dvorim, the last book. Also, the second book of Bamidbar, which that's these two sentences, is called Vayihi ben Zohar. We can call it Vayihi ben Zohar. But this, what we're going to call now the sixth book of the Torah, which comes after this division of two sentences, this book, Sefer Shlishi, the third part of Bamidbar, it comes out that the whole thing is bad. What do you want to call it? Mitonanim, the book of complaints. Right? The end, if you divided up this book of Numbers into three separate books, so it ends up that the third book is all bad things, and it starts off with a bad word. So what are you going to call it? You have to call it a name. What are you going to call it? The book of complaining, mitonanim. But and even more, Hateva, the first word of this book, talks about something which is bad, how the Jewish people were complaining. Until the whole word, mitonanim, is everything is bad. Vayehi ha'am mitananim. Says and it was, the people were complaining. The word vayehi says anytime it says vayehi, it means something bad. Ha'am, the people. Ein ha'am ela rishayim, evil people. Mitonanim, like we said, is all complaints. Okay, I hope that everybody understands what's going on over here, but let's see. Maybe I can just show you. Here it is. See, look. Here, see. What do you see? Maybe it's too small. Oh, see it. See over here. Here we have the two sentences that are a book. See, there's little noons in front of it. See, there's a noon over here and a noon over there. See that? So it says this we want to say is one full book. These two sentences, Vayehi Am, it's left to right, so I have to. Vayehi Am, the people. Says, and it was when it traveled and Moses said, raise up God, and etc. Okay, that's one book. This is what's going to be the third book in Numbers, or the sixth book of the Torah. What does it start off? Let's see if we can get this clearly. Vayehi ha'am mitonanim. See, Vayehi, and it was ha'am, the people mitonanim, complaining bad things in the ears of God. So this, we want to say, begins a whole new book of the Torah. You want to say the book of the Torah starts off with all these three bad words, Vayehi. The word Vayehi also always implies something bad. Ha'am is usually talking about the mixed multitude. And the mitonanim means to complain. So how are you going to call the sixth book of the Torah bad things? This is the opposite of the Torah. The Torah, it says a person has to bless on bad just like on the good. And here we're talking about the people who were doing exactly the opposite. They were complaining all the time. That you want to call a whole book on the name of these complaints? Bichlal in general, Hari Nechlaka Torah, the Torah is divided into what's called 5 books of Moses. 5 books. What is this idea? Why would anybody even think that you should divide it up into 7 books? Why is there an opinion like this in the Talmud? Why even bring it? What's the necessity to divide the Torah into 7 books? If 5 was really nice. And if you divide it into 7 books, it ends up that the 6th book is going to start off with these bad words, and it just has bad things going on in it. Gimel. Kevin Shechaluka Sefer Midbar, since we're dividing up the book of Numbers into 3 separate books. As a result from this, it comes out that the whole Torah is into 7 books. This is Ba'alot. Why does it have to be in this week's Torah portion? We have to say that there's some sort of a connection. If you want to divide it up to 7, okay, you have it divided into 7. First of all, why does it have to be in this week's Torah portion that there's bad things that happen? And why does it have to be in bad things? Right? Divide it in the middle of something good. Start off with good, end with good. Simply, we can say, so what's the connection if this division that we're making into 7 books? What's the connection between this and specifically our Torah portion this week, lifting up the candles? This is attached to the idea of the Torah. Torah or. The Torah is light. It means when you light. Ba'alotcha means lifting up the flame. When you raise up the flame of the candles of the menorah. When you raise up the flame. The Torah is a flame. The Torah is light. Huh? Just like Ba'alot Chatanero, just like elevating the light. This has, there are 7 stems to the menorah. Also, we can say the same thing. The Torah is light. Maybe that's the reason you should divide it up into 7 books corresponding to the 7 branches of the menorah. That's pretty good. But nevertheless, it's not so clear because in this week's Torah portion, there's a lot of bad things. What is the connection in the Tochen and Yanim? What about what comes afterwards? Good, the first word is nice. It's talking about raising up, but that's enough of a reason to divide it up into 7. Especially when you divide it up into 7, it comes out that most of it is bad things. Kate said, how is this fitting with a division with the 5 books of the Torah? So why do it? Could you have a reason you want to make 7, like the 7 stands of the menorah, and the Torah's light, and this is menorah, and this week's Torah portion talks about the menorah. So all the menorah was 7, so that's you got 7, 7. Oh, we'll make the Torah into 7 portions. Says the Rebbe, okay, very nice, but why? First of all, why divide it here? You can divide it also in this place where there's bad that comes afterwards. But why? Says the Rebbe, let's explain something. First of all, about what it means Ba'alot Chatanerot in general. Like it's known that everything that's in the Torah is the language of Horah, teaching. This is a teaching for a Jew in serving God, and especially things which are connected to service of God in the temple. That this is relevant to every single Jew. Like we just finished learning in the Likutei Torah, that the menorah is the Jewish people, and gold is the fear of God, and the 7 branches are the 7 different ways of serving God, and that you have to hit on it and make yourself into a form, change your nature. Like it says, Asali Mikdash, make me for me a holy temple, and I will dwell among you. It doesn't say in it, but inside of every single Jew. Every single Jew is a holy temple, and especially lighting the candles. That's in the Mishkan. That's a thing, lighting the candles. That's a nice, religious, Jewish, positive, illuminating thing. Lighting candles, that's good. Everybody accepts that. That's a good sign of Judaism, right? Lighting the candles. If anything, right, that is the sign of the good things of Judaism, lighting the menorah, made of gold and everything like that, in the holy temple. That's really nice. So that's this week's Torah portion, is lighting the menorah. The menorah. So if there's any example, anything in the Torah, how we can, a good positive example, how we can compare ourselves to and we can learn from, it would be from the menorah, because it's beautiful, it's made of gold, it's very impressive, and also it has 7 branches according to the 7 aspects of the soul, if you want to get a little Kabbalistic, but mainly it makes light. And that's the thing of the Jewish people, is supposed to be to make light. It says, Or La'amim, we're supposed to illuminate the world. Hamitbateh et tochen aklali shalavodat Yehudi. This menorah, this is especially symbolizes the service of every Jew to God. Bakdama. So now let's learn from the menorah, and we'll go back to this thing about the 7 books. Okay, here we have a preface. Even though that in this Torah portion called Ba'alotcha, like all of the portions of the Torah, there are many, many different commentaries. In fact, it says there's 600,000 different, 10,000 explanations. Some people say that there's even more. There's 600,000 according to, in Pshat, simple meaning. Then there's 600,000 Remez, Drush, and so. First of all, there is the simple meaning, according to the simple of the simplest meaning, namely, it's relevant to every single Jew, namely what? To shine. I'm done. To every single Jew. And this is the union what says Rashi, Ani lobati elo lefshot at the mikra, says Rashi, I'm just coming to explain simple meaning. What does Rashi say about this menorah? Namely, to give light. Coming that what? That the Horah, the Balot Chatanero, it is that every single Jew has to learn from the simple meaning of what Rashi says, namely for every single Jew, and therefore this must be teaching to every single Jew, men, women, and children, also in the beginning of their service, even before they reach to a higher level. And what does Rashi say? What does Rashi say that it means that the candles? It says, Al Shem Shalahav, that there was light, there was a flame, Ola, that went up. Baha Alotcha. It doesn't say when you light the menorah, it says when you lift up, when you raise up the flame. The Lahav, the flame, has to go up. Like it says, Bahadlakat, Aliyah, going up. This is what we can learn. Simple meaning that you have to shine, you have to be a good influence until it says that the flame goes up on its own. To be independent. You don't need any more inspiration. You don't need it. Inspiration is always good, but you don't need inspiration to do genuine things. It comes from you. You realize that it's really true. You are really genuinely excited about God, excited about the Torah, excited about helping the world, excited genuinely from yourself. You can be alone. Even more, everybody can be against you. But you are sure in yourself, you know what you're right. You're going to make light. You're going to do good. Okay, so let's explain what does it mean. That what it says when you lift up, when you raise up the lights. This is the general service of a Jew in serving God. Ha'avoda, the service of lighting the Ner Hashem Nishmatarim. It says, what is the lamp of God? Is the soul of man. Right? You're a Jew, you have a soul. The idea of your soul is to illuminate the world with the awareness that there's God, that God exists, God cares, God creates everybody. Or the Ner Mitzvah Torah, or in the light of the commandments and the Torah. You can't just do it on your own philosophically, right? That's very nice, but it has to be through the light of the Torah and the commandments. Why? Because Torah and the commandments, that is true godliness on God's terms, according to God's definitions. By means of this, it shines te'ir et kol metziuto. This will illuminate your whole being, your body, and your, not just your soul, your body, what you do, say, think, and also people around you. Kol masecha, all of your deeds will be for the sake of heaven. And all of your ways, you will know him, you will know God. But te'ir, and you will illuminate gam et anashim, also the people around you, until ha'arat kol olam, the whole entire world is illuminated. From it, light comes out to the whole world. So that's the job of the Jewish people, is to educate, to be a good example, to encourage others to do good, think good, say good. The im ner mitzvah v'torah, or how do you illuminate with the commandments and with the Torah? Or shemikasher mitzvah, from the language of tzav tabachibur. This is a light which a mitzvah. The word mitzvah means to attach. This is a light which attaches the world, the physical world, with the creator of the world, so to speak. Will come often in a way that the world becomes, like it says, dira, a dwelling for God in the world. Menorah me'ira, the whole world becomes like a candelabra, a menorah. That the whole world shines the light of God. So the purpose of the Jewish people being chosen is to show the whole world that they're being chosen. No one is here by accident. How do you do this? Like Rashi says, that you have to be illuminated. You have to be excited in a way that this excitement comes from yourself, even though that is done by means of a Yehudi, a Madlikat Nerot, even though somebody else might inspire you in the beginning. Haritochen mitzvah, the main commandment is that the candelabra, this menorah, should be in a way that it doesn't need others. It lights up on its own. Shalahavas Ola me'aleh, that the flame goes up on its own. And you don't have to have constantly reminding yourself you're not, or simply meaning you don't have any more doubts. You're sure. Just like you know for sure that you exist, right? You know, sure you have a hand over here, right? Somebody says, "Can I cut off your hand?" You'll say, "No way. I'll give you $1,000,000." You say, "You're nuts. Get out of here. I don't want anything to do with you. You're crazy." Right? I'll give you $100,000,000. Yeah, let's see the money. Let me see the money. Let's see what does this involve. Cutting off, I won't be able to use my hand. You know what? You're nuts. But you know that it's your hand. You know there's no doubt about it. So also you will know that God is your God. You know that you are a creation of God, that you are a Jew, that God creates the world. God cares about everything in the world. God wants the non-Jews to do 7 Noahide commandments. You know, you're sure, there's no doubt about it. That's what it means. The light goes up on its own. First of all, you have to learn the Torah. But after you learn the Torah, you realize that the Torah is coming from the same God who's creating me. It's not just a religion. It's from my creator that's creating me. The Kenu, the light goes up on its own. The Kenu, Gamba Buddhas Hashem. So it is in serving God. Even though that God gave powers to a Jew, God is giving us to do our service, and God helps us. B'ner mitzvah v'torah, or it says that the commandments are a lamp, and the Torah is the light that comes from the lamp. In addition to that, the fact that God also sends down inspiration, and He illuminates the lamp which is inside of us, and He puts the lamp down here in the world. Kamokin, similarly, also a Jew receives tremendous kochos me'avas a Kohen. He also gets love from the Kohen, the Lubavitcher Rebbe. The Lubavitcher Rebbe pours love into every single Jew, encouragement, and what do you say, the power, inspiration into every single Jew. That's the job of the Rebbe. The job of the Rebbe is to think about every Jew, inspire every Jew. So if so, we're getting powers from God, and we're getting encouragement from the Rebbe, and we're getting teaching from our teachers and examples from all those around us. Good examples from the rabbis. V'gam also kochos me horov. Also you get from your parents and from your teachers. Ma'anshim acharim, other people, friends that are around you. Like it says, ishitz re'eyu. All of this is encouragement and inspiration from others and instruction, but nevertheless, shlemus v'amitit avoda, true and complete service of God, is that that He does it on His own. Namely, that the ner mitzvah of the Torah, or that this ner mitzvah, that this lamp of the commandments and the light of the Torah, a Jew has to feel it's so real, choder kol kach, ad, until that this shines in him, mitziutom kanefesh b'guf atzma. Like I said, there was in the Inquisitions and this, they killed Jews if they didn't change their religion. And there were a lot of Jews that just refused to change their religion. And there was absolutely no logical reason why. I mean, these people who were doing the murders, they said, our religion is the right one. Look here, you see that there's billions of these, Catholics or whatever they are all over the world. And we're going to go to heaven. That's our whole religion, is that if you believe like us, you're going to go to heaven. And here we have people that are smarter than you, and they have the Pope says and the Bishop says, and these guys, they know the whole Torah. And they say you're going to go to heaven if you change our religion. If you keep your religion, your Judaism, you're going to go to hell. And you can see that you guys are losing. You're on the losing side. Be smart and don't be, how do you say, stubborn. And, we're going to have to kill you. There's no other way to do it. It's like, some sort of a bad disease. You got to get rid of it totally. If you refuse to join our religion, then we're going to have to burn you and kill you. And the Jews saw all around them that there's a whole line of people that were burned in front of him. And the guy sees he's going to lose his life, and he doesn't want to lose his life. What's he going to lose his life for? It could be that he's even a not religious Jew. These people are promising him heaven and eternal bliss and salvation and all these things. And he says, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, and they burn him. And he's one of thousands and 10,000s that gave his life rather than to leave his Judaism. Why? Why? What did he get out of it? He got burned. What possible benefit did he get? Even be smart, right? Jews are supposed to be smart. Say, okay, you know what? I'll bow down. Good, okay, leave me alone, right? I'll bow down. Yes, I'll say whatever you want me to. I'll do the beads, whatever you want me to do. I'll do anything. Eat the wafers, or anything you want. I'll live. At least I'll live, and then afterwards I'll go and put the filling on or something, right? No, he gave us life. Why did he give us life? Suddenly he feels that Judaism is the source of his life. that Judaism is pure God. It's nothing to do with religion. It's nothing to do with love. It's the source of life. The source of life. Is he going to go to heaven? He's not thinking about heaven. He's not thinking about tomorrow. He's not thinking about the next second. The pain that's going to be of getting burned, doesn't think about it. He's only in his mind is one thing. What? Identity. Who am I? That's called the light goes up on its own. That he himself, from the essence of himself, knows also, you don't have to have anyone to kind of convince you or influence you to give your life. That's what's called the essence of a Jew, is a flame that goes up on its own. But that's talking about dying. The goal of Judaism is not to die for God. The goal of Judaism is to reveal this power, which is even willing to give your life for God. But in the world, the purpose of the Jews is to be in the world, not to go to heaven. Right? In the whole 5 books of Moses, or the 7 books of Moses, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't talk about going to heaven or hell once. Right? It's just not even mentioned. It's simply not important. We believe in heaven and hell, there's no doubt about it, but it's simply not important. It's not what we're here for, is the afterlife. We're here for this life. Is there life after birth? When a person feels that, then it's like it says in the menorah, Shalahevis Olam Ela, then the flame goes up on its own, doesn't need any help. And what more details about this, we're going to talk about, God willing, tomorrow. And now let's learn the Dvar Yom Yom.